Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, and today we have a roster drop. And if you noticed, we knew that it was going to drop on a Thursday. They gave us a heads up, and I even knew that it was going to drop right at 10, even though I wasn't obviously prepared for it as we're 18 minutes late. But the roster is out, ladies and gentlemen, so let's just jump right in and discuss it. I'm going to bring it up for you guys here. There's a lot to break down. I really like a few of the names. We'll go one by one, but before we do, just let me know what your guys' initial thoughts were in the chat. Let me know if you're happy, sad. It looks a little different. I've had a few questions already over X asking about a few players, but we will go one by one. I don't see Tajon Buchanan. I'm assuming that's just because he's coming back from injury. He did travel with Club Brugge today, and I believe he's going to be on the bench for their match. So, but unfortunately, just probably wasn't quite ready for this friendly. But the name that got my attention and hopefully got a lot of years was Luke de Figueroles, 17-year-old from Fulham. And this is going to be a big, big player for us. It was amazing to get him in, as well as Matthew Chouanier. I'm just excited. I do like this roster quite a bit. But I'm just going to share something, and then we'll get into the comments. But it's Mauro Biello's first roster. So let's just start off right off the bat. What do you guys think? Out of 10. Do you like it? Do you hate it? All right, let's get in the chat here. De Figueroles is definitely a big pickup. Absolutely. Stoked to see Luke de Figueroles and Harry Payton. Harry Payton was the one that I was a little surprised about. He's been in the wilderness for a while with with the national team. So he was the one probably on this list that I was the most surprised with. Not that he's not deserving of it, because he's been playing pretty well for Motherwell. And I think he went half a season without really playing at all. Then he fought his way back. He's been in pretty good form as well. I just wasn't really expecting Biello to go that route. But regardless, so Armin's here and says it's Canada, so it's a 10. I mean, that's fair. De Figueroles makes it a 10, I think. That's the exciting part. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9 right now. Let me know out of 10, guys, how you would rate this roster. And then let's just break it down position by position, starting with the keepers. We have Milan Borjan, Maxime Crépeau, and Dane St. Clair. No real surprises. I mean, let me know in the chat if you guys are disappointed not to see Jonathan Sirois. If it was me and I was picking this roster, I would have went with St. Clair, Crépeau, and Sirois, just because I think it's I don't know, it's that time. Nothing against Milan Borjan. I don't know. There's also the reports that he left the Gold Cup because he was annoyed that he wasn't getting played, and I think it's time to move on. But regardless, he is here. He brings experience. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Borjan's Canada career, so I'm not surprised. But I hope he doesn't start. Like I want to see St. Clair Crépeau kind of be the next man up. We have the 2024 Copa America to take a look at, as well as the World Cup in 2026. It's time to move on from Borjan, because more than likely he's not going to be at either one of those big tournaments. But St. Clair or Crépeau can. Maxime Crépeau was out for pretty much an entire season because he broke his leg in the final MLS Cup to help LAFC win. He's back in business right now, so I'm excited to see, what it's like to reintroduce him to the national team. So I don't really care between St. Clair, Crépeau, who starts, but I'd prefer one of those two over Borjan for this Japan match. But let me know right now, guys, who would you rather see between the sticks? Crépeau, Borjan, or St. Clair for the Japan match? I'd probably go St. Clair. That's if I had to pick, that's who I would go with. Moving along now to the defenders, we have Atakubi, Bombito, Cornelius, Davies, De Figueroles, my guy, Johnston, Larea, Miller, and Victoria. So the defenders isn't overly surprising. I'm trying to think of who I projected to be in. I mean, on the left, they put Davies in the defenders category, which I don't know if it means anything, but, maybe we go 4-3-3, something like that. I don't know. But he's in there along with Atakubi for your left backs. Center backs, we have Derek Cornelius, who is got to be the guy. Derek Cornelius has got to be our piece to build around in the center back position, and then someone's got to play either alongside him in a back four, or Cornelius plays in the heart, and then you have like a Kamal Miller on one side and an Alistair Johnston on the other. So it's him. Victoria's still in there as well. He hasn't had the greatest start to his season right now. Kamal Miller, and I guess DeFugarolas could play center back. He can play anywhere along the back line. He can play as a right back. He can play as a left back. He was playing as a center back in preseason for Fulham, and he looked very, very good. And I mean, if you're Canadian, you're probably hoping this young 17-year-old can take a big step up in the center back position. So I'm kind of hoping that's where they're leaning to put him, because then you have Richie and you have Alistair Johnston as your kind of right backs. Onto the midfield. Drop a W, guys, in the chat for Matthew Chouanier. This was a long time coming. Matthew Chouanier has deserved to be called up to the national team, I'd say, for over a year now. It was really disappointing that he didn't get called up to the Gold Cup until he was asked to basically be an injury replacement, and then he wasn't able to attend. It's fantastic to see him. He earned this. I literally tweeted out, if there's one under the radar player I would like to see in this roster, it would be Matthew Chouanier. So I'm really excited to see him get that call up. I think it's very well deserved. You also got Eustachio, who had a great match against Barca yesterday. Kone Osorio, Harry Payton, and Samuel Piette. Some veteran experience there, and Samuel Piette returns to the squad, which, the Montreal connection, I'm not overly surprised that we'd see a few of them in here. But Harry Payton was the one that, like I said, I was pretty surprised about. Out of everyone on this list, DeFugarolas is a bit of a surprise, but I mean, he was one that we should absolutely be gunning for. 17 years old, with Fulham, looked really good in preseason. I know he's not playing with the first team and starting week in, week out, but he's a talent nonetheless. But I don't know, it's exciting. I mean, Harry Payton had to battle his way back into this contention, and it's excited to see him back in there. I'm very curious to see how this team is going to line up. And then we have the attack. We have Brim, David, Hoylett, Laren, and Liam Miller. Liam Miller got off to a good start with Preston North End. They've kind of slipped in the last couple of weeks, but I think he absolutely deserves this call-up. Championship is a tough league. Brim hasn't started as much as I would have liked to see him for Sparta Rotterdam right now, but he did score that really nice brace and like 15 touches. Hoylett's in here as well. It's not bad. It's not a bad team. Like I said, no Tajon Buchanan, probably just simply due to injury, but I like it. There's a lot of storylines around this team right now. So let's get into the chat. If you're just joining us, guys, drop a like on the stream. Let us know what your thoughts are on this squad. I can tell already that the overall goal is going to be to hype up DeFugarolas, and I'm right there with you guys. I think I'd rather see Laturi than Payton. Yeah. I mean, that it's an interesting one. They're both playing in the same league. Just the thing that makes Laturi, I think, more intriguing for this national team is the fact that he's a 6, and we don't really have a ton of them, but we did recall Samuel Piette, so maybe that went behind trying to get Payton in more of like an 8-ish to 10. But I mean, I've seen Payton play as a 6, as an 8, as a 10. I think he's best as an 8. So I don't know. Maybe the fact that Piette was brought in is the reason that Laturi's not, but I do think probably both are pretty close. It's interesting to see Davies as a defender. It is. Now, I said this is Biello's first roster. This is going to be his first match against Japan. It is a friendly. Obviously, we want to go out and win, but if there's ever a time to experiment, and try to put your stamp on something, if I was Biello, I would do it again in the Japan match. Japan's a great nation. You have the opportunity to get your squad together, try to, get them to get the attention of someone. Like if he's came out and said he wants this job. So if I'm looking at Biello and you have a very small window before maybe they make a new hire and you want to make a statement, well, then get the guys that you want in, field the starting 11 you want. Maybe it's, like I said, it's a 4-3-3. Play Davies as a left back if you think that's where he's going to shine, and then try to just, put an imprint on us Canadian fans. I don't hate the idea of Davies playing as a left back. I just think that Davies hates the idea of Davies playing as a left back. I think that he'd want to play higher up the pitch because everything is going to go through him in a way. And sometimes that's, his worst enemy when he plays for the national team. I still think his best position for Canada is as a wing back, but I know we'd run into troubles sometimes when we play the 3-5-2. But I just think that's where Herman tried to best place Davies, just because, it gives him the ability to go forward. He's got the speed to track back, and he can kind of do what he wants. The problem was that he would drift into the middle quite a bit. Duncan says he likes this roster. It is a 9 out of 10. Davies as a defender. Let's see if we can play him as a left back in Maro's famous 4-2-3-1. Yeah, we'll build a little starting 11 at the end of the stream. And we're going to do it around the fact that we think that Davies might be a defender because he's never listed as a defender. And now it's got me very intrigued. And like I said, I don't hate the idea. I can't really picture it because we don't see it that often. He plays, if I go over the last few positions he's played for the national team, I've seen Davies as a left wing back. I've seen him as a left midfielder. I've seen him as a left winger. I've seen him as a cam. I've seen him as a striker. I don't even see him as a left back. So I am a little bit curious. I asked the question about who do you guys want to see start in the match. We got Crépeau and St. Clair out with Borjan. Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn of who I'd rather see. I think more than likely we'll see Crépeau. If I had to put money on, I'd probably say Crépeau will be the starter. I hope. I kind of hope St. Clair, but I don't mind Crépeau at all. I just don't really want Borjan. Nice to be here, Katie. Hope you're doing well. Balu Tabla, regular in Turkey. Yeah, but he's a regular in the second division. I do like Tabla, but I don't think he's a big surprise. But this is a trend I've seen quite a bit, guys. Ali Ahmed should be there. That was the number one comment I've been getting on Twitter from you guys. I'm a big Ali Ahmed fan. I know Alex is. I don't know if Alex will be joining us at some point. Depends. He is BC time, so he needs his sleep. But if he joins on, I'm sure he's going to be a little bit upset. But like that's an example. Like Ali Ahmed could have been a player you brought over like a Harry Payton, for example. That's why I said I think Payton's the most intriguing name on this roster because I'm very curious to see Bielo's reasonings behind it. I like Harry Payton. I think he's a good player. I think he's had a good spell in Scotland. It's just like I said, I think he went about 6 months without playing, but he battled back. He got into the Motherwell team, and he's playing well. I don't know, just something about Ali Ahmed and the tournament he had in the Gold Cup. The fact that you had Bombito Larea, where he created a little chemistry in there. He's also more versatile than Harry Payton is. So like I don't know. I was a little confused as well. But then again, Matthew Chouanier is here, a player who can play literally anywhere across a midfield four. Left wing back, right wing back, left mid, right mid, center mid, cam. Like he's a very versatile player, and it's exciting to see him in here. No Dom Zator, no party. Yeah, Zator's another interesting one. Again, if Zator was going to be in this roster, I'd assume that Bombito would be the one left out. And unfortunately for Zator, he doesn't have age 100% on his side. He's 29. Bombito, I believe, is 22. I'm just going off probably the reasoning I would have picked Bombito over Zator. Zator is in excellent form over in Poland, so you can't really take that away from him. But there's just something about Bombito right now where I just think he's a very raw talent. It's not been untouched yet. I don't even know exactly where I would want to see him. For me personally, like I don't want to see him as a 6. I just don't think he's got that in his locker. I could see him as an outside center back, maybe even a center back one day, right back. I mean, he could really play in a variety of different positions. My favorite one for him right now is that outside right or left center back. And again, that could be one of the reasons that they brought him in, because they have the two. If you're looking at the defensemen right now, you got Johnston and Larea on the right back. You got Davies, Atakubi on the left back. Cornelius and Miller are your left-sided center backs. And then I guess Vittoria and Bombito. So to me, it looks like Bielo's looking at Bombito as a center back. In a back four and a back three, I don't know. But I do like the idea of building a 4-2-3-1 with Bielo. That's because I think that would be interesting. I'm curious to see who we're going to put at cam and how we're going to build this roster out. Crépeau is awesome for Canada. He is. Before the injury, I was expecting Crépeau to be the guy after Borjan. But since the injury, I was like on the fence, and I thought St. Clair could maybe take that opportunity. But now that Crépeau is back in business, it's probably his spot to lose. Tommy said I'm giving this roster a 7. What would you have liked to seen in it, Tommy, to put it up to like an 8 or a 9? Out of curiosity. Ahmed should have been called in. Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, the only justification I could come up with as the reason why Ahmed is not in here is because maybe like Chouanier is that Ahmed player, like can play in the midfield, can play a little bit out wide. I'm assuming that Biel would rely a little bit more on Chouanier than he would Ahmed. But then I guess Payton, there's got to be some reason that he sees Payton in there. I don't really know. Oh, and I also forgot in the center back position we have Luke the I can't believe I forgot him. Yes. I don't know where he's going to play, actually. Luke de Figueroa could be the center back that pushes Bombito out. I'm torn now. Because, yeah, completely forgot to mention him. So Luke could definitely be a center back as well. Bombito could be a right back. He could be a left back, and that could push Davies up. I don't really know. Point is that we got depth in that area. Biello won't play Bombito as a 6. He can't afford to. No, I don't think he will. And I don't think he should. I think the only reason that Bombito played as a 6 under Herdman, and this is just my opinion, you guys can let me know if you agree or not. The only reason I think that Herdman played Bombito as a 6 is because we didn't have any options really. And he came out and said, oh yeah, we see Bombito as a 6. I don't personally believe that. I don't think that there's any way to justify that you see Bombito as a 6. He doesn't play there. He's never played there. And he didn't look overly comfortable there. I think that Herdman just didn't have options and then wanted to say like, all right, we need to toss Bombito in the midfield and let's talk him up. Let's make him look and feel comfortable in there. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't feel comfortable. But when Herdman played him as an outside right center back, I thought he looked very comfortable. And that's usually where he plays in for the Rapids, more so like as like a center back, a lot on the left-hand side. But I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough. Time to move on from Borjan. Yeah, I was a little surprised. Like I said, I mean, the reports say that he left the Gold Cup. I mean, I can't, there was rumors that it was an injury. There was rumors that it was just because he wasn't going to play the next match. I don't 100% know. I like Borjan and I like everything he's done for this national team. Like I said, I don't want to take anything away from that, but it's just time to move on. I think St. Clair and Crepeau are both better keepers. And with an eye on 2024 and 2026, I just think it's time. This would have been the opportunity to kind of show that we're moving on. And when I put out a roster earlier this week, I did it more so just to see what people thought of leaving certain guys out. And those were guys that, again, probably won't be there 2024, 2026. Guys like Vittoria, Borjan. I believe I even left out Hoylett and Osorio. Some of you guys liked it. Some of you guys didn't. But just more of an idea to take a look at what this squad could look like. And clearly, it's not time, I guess, to move on from the big guns because every single one is pretty much here, which is difficult. But it's going to be a good test. Japan is a very good side. I'm excited to see what this team could do. And I don't know. I really am intrigued to see how Biel is going to put this roster together. Because I think the biggest issue of trying to find a balanced team that Herdman had is, I mean, how do you make Alphonso Davies happy? Where does he want to play? Where do you see him being able to fit? And then trying to put the pieces around them. A lot of the times it resulted in Davies playing as a left mid, resulting in a two-man midfield. We then sometimes had him as in the back three, which I still think the 3-5-2 is the best way to go with the squad that we had, but we still found issues with that. I'm torn. I'm really torn on where to go. A lot of guys want to see Davies as an actual left back because that's where he plays for Bayern and could allow some other players to go up. But I think when we build the starting 11, our predicted one, it'll be telling to see where some of the weaknesses are. If De Figueroa receives some playing time, performs well, do you think that that'd be enough for him to get into Fulham's first team? I don't think so. I mean, he played very well throughout preseason. I watched every single one of Fulham's matches. I thought he was impressive on pretty much every single one. Like I said, he was looked at as a fullback. He played right back, basically for Fulham coming through the academy, through the different levels. And then for the main team, I don't know if they were just kind of short in the center back position, but he moved over there, looked so comfortable on the ball, looked like he was, like a 25-year-old the way he was playing, not a 17-year-old who was playing in a new position against Chelsea. Like he looked unbelievable. I think Fulham know that. I don't think he needs to do anything with Canada to get into Fulham's good books, unfortunately. And I also don't know if he's going to get a look. Like I have no idea how many minutes he's going to get because this is just one single match against Japan. How are you going to take it? Do you want to start all the big guns? Because, I mean, we didn't have a September window. We only have one match in October. how are you going to balance out the squad? And I'd be so down to see the Figueroa start, but I just don't think it's very likely that he will. So I don't think that anything that they'll take from this Canada like camp, I don't think will get him any further in the pecking order in Fulham. I think he's just got to do his dues. He's 17 years old, so young, so much talent to continue to get better with, that I just think that it's going to take a little time. And the fact that we get him into a camp now is important, because the center back position has always been one that we've worried about for years. I think we're in decent hands. Like I said, I've talked up Derek Cornelius for a while. I think there are pieces spread across Major League Soccer, but I think the next step would be uncovering a gem in Europe. And this is where this profile comes in. He's 17. So it's the 2024 summer. He'll probably be 18. Obviously, the math adds up. I just don't know when he's turning 18. And then in 2026, he would be basically 20. And if if he somehow breaks into Fulham's squad, or if he gets a loan to like a championship, and all of a sudden we have a young 20-year-old playing in Europe week in, week out, it's a very different story than a couple guys battling out who are playing in Major League Soccer. So I think that getting him in right now, getting him a taste of meet guys like David, it could go a long way. And it seems like he wants to play for Canada, which is, again, another good sign. I know a lot of you guys are messaging me being like, do you think Luka Koleosho is going to get called? Oh, there it is. Just right on cue. Just read it before I even got it. Josh, any chance we get Koleosho, or is that done? If you're going to ask me, like, total honesty, I would say it's like 99% done that we do not get him. I don't think Luka Koleosho is going to come play for Canada, because I think there's a realistic chance that he could play for Italy. The Italians attackers that they've called up over the past year, 2 years, have not been that good of guys. I mean, they've brought up players playing in Switzerland in the championship. This guy is starting week in, week out in the Premier League. I don't think it's that unlikely that the Italian national team will call him up, especially knowing that Canada, United States, and Nigeria, I believe, are the other nations that could go after him. He's already played for the Italian, in I think the U19s. So I'd say he's Italy's to lose by far. I know the United States, there's an article from The Athletic saying that they were going to up their recruitment for him, but I just don't think there's anything he can do. I have not talked to Luka personally, so I don't know where his heart is, but the fact that he went over and played for the Italians and the U19s right now tells me that, he probably sees himself having a chance there. And they're just a massive national team. And like I said, I think there's a very realistic chance that he could actually play for that national team. It's not like, this young kid is like, oh, he wants to go play for Italy, and that's unrealistic. This is very realistic. I think that there's a good chance he's playing week in, week out, and he's playing well in the Premier League. Italy has called up worse players. So I think he's gone. Not to put a damper on that, but that's all right. Once he went over and represented Italy, I kind of, in my mind, I'm like, he's gone. There's no Jacob Schaffelberg as well. A little bit harsh on Schaffelberg, but again, I don't know who you leave out. It would probably have to be Brim or Miller, I would assume. But Liam's playing, again, week in, week out in the championship, which in my eyes is a higher league, higher level right now than Major League Soccer. And Schaffelberg doesn't even start week in, week out. I mean, but he's a deadly player to come off the bench. We've seen that plenty of times for Nashville. We've seen it for the Gold Cup as well. I don't mind not bringing him, unfortunately, for Jacob. Vittoria, Borjan are taking up space. They will not be there in 2026. You should be preparing for 2026, meaning Ahmed, Sirwat. Yeah, there's no Ike Ugbo. Just notice that. No Ike Ugbo. That, I'm assuming, comes down to form. I can't believe I missed that. That is hilarious. So that's a few windows now that Ugbo's not been called up. And I think that's a little harsh considering, I think he's scored 3 goals so far in the championship. He's not on great form. He's not playing amazing. Like the goals, yes, he scored 3 of them, but it's not like, he's been doing fantastic. He just kind of right place, right time. He's kind of fallen back to the bench. I think he came on in the 60th minute yesterday and he had 7 touches. He is struggling right now a little bit for Cardiff, but I still think, it's a little harsh because Brim's not starting right now either. So maybe, I don't know, there's something going on there with Ugbo. But I do agree. I think it's time to start shaping up for 2024 and 2026. But the 2024 Copa America is going to be huge. That is going to be such a fun tournament, and this Canadian team needs to go and they need to compete. And I don't think that they're going to be able to do that if they, they don't move on from a certain amount of guys that I think like they're all good. It's just like they're getting older. They're long in the tooth, unfortunately, and it's we brought them to the World Cup. We kept them on for the Nations League, and it's time to kind of turn the coin here and bring in some of the young guys. I agree it's harsh because this program, they've given a lot to it, but I don't know. I'm torn. I've been saying it, but I just didn't think that it would happen, and it obviously didn't, not yet. So, how has Coney been doing with Watford? Feel like I haven't heard about him much this year. He's not been starting much. He's had a couple pretty good performances, but he hasn't been able to lock down that consistency right now to become a starter with Watford. Still young, still raw. Like I still think probably a good shout to start in this Canada squad for the Japan match. But yeah, it's not been off to the best start. And Watford has not been off to the best start. I think they're 1 point out of relegation right now, and they just extended their manager, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Kyle Laren's another one that I'm a little nervous for. He's in atrocious form right now. But that's the thing with Kyle Laren is that despite having spells where he's not doing well and not feeling confident, you can always kind of rely on him to come to the national team and produce. But right now for Mallorca, he is struggling. I don't honestly say struggling worse than he did at the start of his Club Bruges spell because I know you guys have heard it before, but he came to, I don't know. I don't want to keep getting negative. I want to get on from that. But yeah, he didn't show up basically at the start of the year in shape. He has not looked good coming off the bench. He's been missing chances. And right now it's just not a good situation for Laren, who was in a similar spot a year ago with Club Bruges and was able to get himself a loan move, battle his way back out. He earned this move to stay in La Liga and just kind of it seems like he's letting it slip through his fingers, which honestly is a bit of a shame. I don't rate the whole championship higher than MLS. Top 4, okay, but many teams are not there. The championship's a top 10 league. I'm pretty sure it's like maybe 8th. I don't know. Someone correct me, but no, like it's a much more difficult league. It's hard to compare the two, but in my eyes, it's not really close. If you're playing the championship, you're playing at a higher level than Major League Soccer. I'm not saying it's not like Premier League versus Major League Soccer, but it's a higher league. There's a lot of quality teams in there. And if you're able to do it in that league, 46 games, the pure number with the cup competitions, it's grueling. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a higher league, and I think that I don't know. I just think that's how it is. Let me know if you agree. Do you think the championship is a higher level than Major League Soccer, or vice versa? And I'm big on Major League Soccer. I think Major League Soccer is on the rise. I don't think having players from Major League Soccer in the national team is an issue. I know that's a theme in the U.S. that they want all their players to basically be guys playing abroad. We don't have that kind of depth abroad, and I think that Major League Soccer keeps getting better and better. So I'm not against it. I just personally think the championship is a very tough league, a very good league, and a little bit higher in my eyes than Major League Soccer. Laren should have stayed at Valladolid. Hopefully things change for him. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like, it's going to be very difficult. This has been a tough start for him. It's one thing, like I said, to show up at the beginning of the year not fit, and then to have your coach call you out for it. You're not starting games. You're coming off the bench, and then you're not being useful. He's been missing chances. It's like I said, honestly, it feels worse than at Club Bruges, because at least with Club Bruges at the beginning of that season, he wasn't out of shape. And yes, he was missing chances, but a lot of it was unlucky. A couple posts. It's like if a couple of those would have went in, I think it could have been a completely different story. Right now, the chances are they're just not there for him. He's not taking it at all. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look up to it. And it's a little bit worrying. I think this could be big for him. Get out of that mindset, come to the national team where you know that you can score, hopefully have a good match against Japan and lift your confidence a bit. So when you are called upon to come off the bench, hopefully you finally can put one in the back of the net and show that there's reason that this team went out for you, because it sucks. I mean, at this point, yeah, if you would have stayed at Valladolid where they absolutely loved him, maybe he'd be lighting it up in the second division. But I just saw the hard work he put in to earn that move to stay in La Liga and to score the amount of goals he did for Valladolid. I thought he deserved to stay in La Liga. It just, like I said, it seems it's kind of unfortunate he's not taking advantage of it right now. Championship is a higher level overall, but the better quality at the top is Major League Soccer. I don't know. I think I disagree a little bit, but I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, like the top MLS sides are very good, but the top championship sides are going to the Prem. I don't know. I'm torn. No Theo Corbiano. Yep. That is a that is not surprising me. I like Theo Corbiano a lot, but again, who do you leave out right now? Like, we couldn't even get Ugbo in this squad. We couldn't get Schaffelberg in this squad. He's playing in Switzerland, which is an okay league. Again, like, I mean, if we're going back to the Major League Soccer debate, I would say that Major League Soccer is almost a better league than the Swiss league is. So again, I'm not overly fussed about it. I don't know who you would have left off. Like, for Schaffelberg or Corbiano, you probably would have had left off Brim or Miller. I think Liam Miller, like I said, he's playing well in the championship. It's a higher level. I like that. He played good in the Gold Cup as well. Brim, I think, is a bit of the wild card. I think you could have left him off for Ugbo. You could have left him off for Schaffelberg or Corbiano. It's not that big of a fuss to me. But again, maybe this is about, well, I don't know. Because if Ugbo not being there, we could maybe say if they're going to play like a 4-2-3-1, one striker system, there could be a reason to leave Ugbo out. But if you're going to play with wingers, Corbiano could have been a good option. Schaffelberg could have been a good option. You can push Brim out wide. You can have Liam Miller there as well. So I don't know. Ugbo over Brim for me. Well, let's build a starting 11. Because I'm excited to see what you guys think. So give me your guys' opinion right now. Who do you guys want to see in net? Spam the comments. I have who I want in mind, but we're gonna build a little starting 11. But we're gonna do it a 4-2-3-1. We're gonna do a 4-2-3-1 because I think that it's Biel's preferred formation, and on top of that, they put Davies as a left back. So I just want to kind of see what it looks like, and I want to see what you guys have said. I'm going to assume that none of you guys are going to say Borjan, and I can already see that. I see a couple St. Clair, I see a couple Crépeau. So it seems like you guys are on the fence about as much as I am. A couple more comments, and we'll pick one. Oh, Crépeau takes the lead. All right, that's who I was leaning for, to be completely honest. The reason I'm leaning towards Crépeau is because he's very good with the ball at his feet. Excellent shot stopper as well. And he, like I said, was the guy in my eyes to succeed Borjan. I just think the injury obviously set him back. It was a nasty injury. But I feel like, if I had to guess, I think Maxime Crépeau would be the guy. So it looks like you guys are kind of on the same page. I do see the point for Dane St. Clair. But we're going to go Crépeau. All right, now go right back now, guys. This shouldn't be a debate, but I've heard a lot of you guys get upset when I said that Johnston is clear, like the clear right back option. I love Richie Larea. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an excellent player. If we played a back three right now, Johnston could be the outside right center back. You could put Larea and the wing back, and I think that's, you'd get a lot out of him right there. But I mean, if Buchanan was healthy, Buchanan's the preferred right wing back over me. But if we're playing in a back four, like this creative little team we're going to have right here, it's got to be Alistair Johnston. And I don't think it's the debate. He is the better the right back position itself. He's a better right back than Alistair Johnston. He's playing for a Celtic team right now in the Champions League. He's playing very well. He's a fan favorite. He pissed off Bell. Like, come on, guys. It's not a debate for me. It's Alistair Johnston. But if you do think it's Richie Larea, tell me why. Is it the offense he brings? Because Alistair can do that as well. I don't know. But for me, Alistair Johnston, I don't usually bark back on Twitter because I like everyone's opinion, but someone's like, yeah, no, Richie Larea should be starting over Alistair Johnston. And I was like, he is one of the most important players to this squad, whether it's a back four, whether it's a back three. You cannot go wrong with Alistair, and that's why he's going into our squad. All right. So we got Crepeau and we got Alistair Johnston. Now moving on to the two center backs. So give me two options now, guys, for the center backs. Miller and Johnston for right center back. Johnston can't play in the middle of a back four. That's where I put my foot down. We can't get too creative here, Nathan. Bombito and Miller is an intriguing one. I don't want to say you're wrong, John. No, I'm kidding. No, you got get your opinion in. For me, hands down, it has to be Derek Cornelius on the left-hand side. And again, it's another fun debate because Kamal Miller has picked up a lot of attention because he's playing with Messi. And I do like me some Kamal Miller. And again, if we're playing in a back three, he can go on the outside. But Derek Cornelius is something else right now. Yeah, Vittoria's been in atrocious form. Because like if I'm looking at the back four, I was kind of leaning towards like it's got to be Cornelius for me, and then it's who's gonna play on the right. And like Vincent said, I mean Vittoria is an obvious pick, but he's been very poor this season. Blow it up, throw Luke in there. I don't hate it. Like I said, you could go two lefties too. You could do Cornelius and Miller, which is honestly maybe what I'm leaning towards, or Bombito. That's tough. Because again, I mean, if it was up to me, if we're having fun, I'm torn here. This is actually more difficult. The Figueroas and Cornelius would probably be my pick, but I just don't think that it's realistic. I don't think that they're going to start him. So it would probably be Bombito. It'll probably be Vittoria, if I'm being honest. But I say we go Cornelius and Miller. I don't love two lefties as the center backs, but Cornelius is excellent with the ball at his feet as well. So you can maybe rely on him on the right-hand side. Because I don't know. I don't really want to see Vittoria get a start. I don't think his form has proved it. And I just don't think the way that he plays, he's going to do overly well against that rapid Japanese attack. Bombito would be interesting as well, but I kind of like the Miller Cornelius shout, guys. Vittoria's given years of service. I know. I feel bad when I talk like that because again, Milan Borjan, Steven Vittoria, Hoylett, Osorio, when they go, like these guys mean so much to me, and I don't want to confuse anything. But it's a point where you have to move on. I don't think you need to move on really from Hoylett or Osorio quite yet. I think you could from Borjan. I think there's better keepers that could be in the squad today. Vittoria's a tough one too because I do think he's got a role to play, and he had an excellent season last campaign. Just this year, he's not been good. But bang, smacked it, showed it in the back. Derek Cornelius is the first defender, at least, on this team for me. Derek Cornelius is in unbelievable form. I think ever since he went to Europe, he just gained confidence. He got a swagger about him. He really, I think, rediscovered and kind of revived his career when he went to Greece. And now that he's in Sweden, I feel comfortable enough that I'm going to put this lefty in the back four, but on the right-hand side. He's going to rock number 15, and we're going to let Miller be on the left. I'm open to having like Vittoria and then Cornelius over there, but and then on the left back, guys, I'm assuming Davies. Does anyone disagree? I mean, the fact that they put him as a defender, I think that's the whole point we're doing this kind of experiment. So I'm going to put Davies in at left back. But do any of you think that it should be Atakubi at left back? And then I guess Davies at left wing? Because this is where it's going to be intriguing when you look at the wingers. Vincent said, I thought this camp was going to be sort of some new faces. Vittoria, Borjan are huge red flags to me. I mean, man, I'm torn too. Like I would have liked to seen a little bit more turnover, but at the same time, these are guys who've given so much to the program that clearly don't feel like they're done with the national team. And I mean, it's not like Biello's brand new. Like he's got relationships with these guys as well. You can kind of see a little bit of his Montreal in there. The fact that Piet's back in, Choinière got the call. That's why I kind of thought Sirois would maybe sneak in there. But like I said, those are the two names that I think will probably not be at the Copa America or even at the World Cup. But I don't know. It's difficult. Armin's switching it up. Wants Adekubi at left wing. Davies. Surprised. I'm surprised how many of you guys want to see Davies at left back. I mean, it's where he plays at Bayern. I do get it. It's just he is a world-class player. And I think that's why he wants to play higher up the pitch. He wants more of the ball. He wants to be the guy. And I just sometimes think that's where he gets in trouble with the national team. So maybe just keeping him to what he knows at left back. I don't know, man. I do kind of hope we play in this 4-2-3-1 with Davies at left back because I just want to see it. I want to see how this team would gel together if Davies is a little bit more restricted. Because with a wingback role, I always find that, he's got the freedom to go forward. He can track back, but he just kind of got that. I can go do what I want. The back line can always shift. When he plays as a cam, he always wants the ball. I don't think that's where he's at his best. I've said that many times. So I'm just, now that, I don't know, a back forward with him, my eyes are open. But all right, Davies is in. Our back line is set, and it's not a bad looking one. We have Crépeau between the sticks, Johnston, Cornelius, Miller, Davies. 3 lefties in that back. A little weird, but I mean, it's fine. All right, now on to the midfield. I'm going to put Stefan Eustáquio in there because it's obvious, but who do you guys want to see play beside Eustáquio? Stefan Eustáquio had a very, very good game against Barca. He should have won Porto a penalty. I don't know if you guys watched that game, but that was a horrible call. Porto got very unlucky not to be able to walk away with a point against Barca, but Eustáquio looked very good. Do you want to see the double pivot with Kone in it? And then also think about who's going to play at the 10. Are we going to see a JD in the 10? Because I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to put this team together. Because if you're looking at a true number 6, you would have Piet, and then Eustáquio would kind of play a little bit further up as an 8 in that dual or in that double pivot. If you want Eustáquio to play as a 6, I guess you could have Kone up there, but I think you would hurt a little bit defensively without someone like a Piet in there. I don't think Choinière could play the double pivot. If it was a 4-3-3, maybe you could do like Eustáquio. Ooh, I kind of like that. I kind of like that more. Eustáquio is a 6, Kone, Choinière, maybe. Are we leaving Blair on the bench? I think we might. Kone for sure. All right, do we do 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1? Because I think that midfield 3 could make sense if you you know what I mean. If you have Eustáquio as a 6, then you have Kone and Choinière there as your 2-8. So I don't know about Kone in the double pivot, and then if we're putting like a JD as the 10, I think that midfield is going to be in a lot of trouble. Kone's in the chat and says, "Put me in, coach." All right, I think I'm going to switch it up. Sorry, guys. The 4-3-3. The 4-3-3 is going to enter the. There we go. I just can't do it. I think Eustáquio, and then I think this makes a lot more sense. So give me another midfielder, guys. Is it Choinière? Is it Osorio? Because I just think it's got a lot more balance to the team now. Put number 8 as Kone. Add his thing, but all right. He's there. Kone, Eustáquio. And then I'm leaning towards Choinière. I would be totally down to see him. Osorio. I could also see it being Osorio. But I don't know, man. Maybe Biello can. I wanted to see Choinière. So maybe it only makes sense that I'm able to toss my guy in. That's not a bad looking midfield 3, if you ask me. Let's get him in here. In the 10. So that, I mean, I'm assuming that means we're leaving. What number is he gonna wear? I don't know. I don't know what number I want to give him. I'm gonna give him 20. No, I'm not. I'm gonna give him 21. I'm gonna say it. No, I'm not. No, I'm gonna give him 20. David can wear 10. Yeah. I like that. But now, all right, I'm gonna put David as a striker. Rocking number 10 because I think it makes sense. Now, this is the biggest question mark for you guys. Who are going to be the two wingers? That is what I want to know. We're leaving Laren on the bench because his form has been awful, and I have no problem leaving him there. Kone, Chouanier, and Eustachio is our midfield three, and I absolutely love the look of it. Davies, Miller, Cornelius, and Johnston as our back four with Crepeau. I like it. Like I like it. I like the look, guys. In a 4-3-3, switch Davies to left wing, and then put Atakubi at left back. Sneaky Sam Piet shout. If they did the 4-2-3-1, I would say that Piet makes the most sense. I don't think, like I said, the 4-2-3-1 with Kone and Eustachio, I just think that midfield is asking for trouble, especially if you have like a David or Hoylett or Osorio as a 10. In a 4-2-3-1, Eustachio Piet would make sense. I don't really want to start Piet. I think I'd rather start Chouanier, and I think this 4-3-3 is a lot more balanced with a Eustachio, Kone, and Chouanier midfield three. Then you have David up front. Laren can ride the pine, and we just need two wingers. And I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming Liam Miller gets a shout. Do we do Hoylett, Brim? Do we put Atakubi in and then throw Davies up wide or up front? I am torn. Watch Biello play Chouanier at fullback. I hope not. No, man. Chouanier is an engine. He needs to be in that midfield. I have no interest seeing Davies in the attack for us anymore. Too much hero balls when things get tough. I think hero ball comes into play when he drifts into the midfield. I don't like when Davies does that. There's been games where he's straight up just has played as a striker, has played as a number 10. And like you said, he wants the ball because he is the guy. Like he's Canada's guy. It's just that's not where he's at his best. He doesn't have that number 10 mentality when he's in the midfield, and that's not where you're gonna get him where he can basically punish teams. When you are is when he's going to utilize his speed, which is sending him through, playing little 1v1s. One of the goals he scored this year, or one of the assists he got this year for, I believe, Harry Kane, is exactly what Alphonso Davies does. It was like a little 1-2 touch. He used his speed. He burst through like 3 defenders, and then he put in a perfect ball, and I believe it was Kane who put it in the back of the net. That is where I like to see Davies, which is why when you restrict him the most with Canada is when he plays as a wingback, because he still has some defensive responsibility and doesn't usually drift into the middle. I think if you're playing as a left back, you're restricting him enough that maybe he just plays his game. But I think you could do that as well in the left wing back role. I just think it's when he starts drifting centrally is where things don't really go his way, because he's not getting the ball enough. He's getting frustrated. He wants the ball. He drifts in, and then he just tries to create by himself. And a lot of the times it just doesn't work. Miller, Brim, or Hoylett. Even though right now when I'm looking at this team, man, I don't know how I feel like the whole exercise was to put Davies at left back, but now that I see the roster, I feel like I want Davies at left wing and then Atakubi at left back. But someone try to talk me out of it. Who's going to be the other two wingers? Is it going to be Miller at left wing and then Hoylett at right wing? Is that where we're going? Miller on the left, Davies invert, maybe Chouanier on the right. I'd rather bring Atakubi off the bench and move Davies up if need be. This roster makes it so Davies is probably able to play up top because we only have Hoylett and Miller as true wide players, where Corbeanu and Schaffelberg would have come in. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, but I mean, you could play Brim out wide. He's no stranger to doing that. If you need to, I guess you could put David out wide and have Hoylett through the middle, or Laren through the middle. Hoylett and Miller are obvious players, but you could have Davies up there as well. This so-called squad has no wingers, so Davies would have to be up top. Hoylett and Miller. Yeah, no Liam Fraser. Even though kudos to Liam Fraser. He got a deal with Dallas. He's got a 2-year option to extend, and he's playing well. So I always had a soft spot for Fraser just because I think he's such a good passer of the ball. But yeah, he not in this team. Corbeanu Miller would have been perfect for wingers, to be honest. You guys are not making it easy for me to figure this out. I don't know what to do. I don't know what makes the most sense. My brain is telling me just put Atakubi at left back, put Davies up front, and then put Liam Miller on the right. But then the other part of me, if the whole exercise part is to put Davies at left back, and then I want to say Miller at left wing, Hoylett at right wing. Oh, Davies can definitely move up, but he can't attack properly. All right, I think since it was the whole point, I think I'm going to do Miller and Hoylett. Speak up now or forever hold your peace, because I think that's what we're going to do. I don't mind it. Junior Hoylett's an excellent player for Canada. He always has been. He can play on the right-hand side. Oh, but that means he's the number 10. Hoylett, David gets 20 back. Let me find a number for Chouanier. And then number 6. Where is number 6? Can be Miller. And Chouanier, you can take 20, 18, 19, 17, 14. You can take 14. All right, guys. What do you think? Do you like it? It took a long time for us. We had about 50 of us trying to put this roster together, and I'm still not overly convinced I got it right. Davies will have a free reign to attack at left back. Johnston can play. That is a nice thing. That is a nice thing. If you're looking right at this squad right now in this, you know what? That's an excellent example, right? Am I thinking? Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of right. Yeah. So you could easily make this. You could easily make this even if you switch Miller and Hoylett, it could be a 3-5-2 or it could be a 3-4-2-1. So if it starts off just I like this actually a lot because I want to see the 4-3-3 and just to see how this team could do. We've never really seen it. I want to see Davies get experimented as an actual left back, stick to his game, do what he does best, have the freedom to go up and down the pitch like you guys said. And when he does, like you just said, it can adapt. That means our two lefties actually come in handy here because Kamal Miller will play on the outside left center back. Cornelius has been playing and can play in the middle of the back three. His passing is fantastic. He's got the speed that Victoria lacks. He's a perfect option going forward, which then would allow Johnston to go and complete the back three when Davies wants to get up the pitch. You still have a midfield three, which is essential in this day and age. Kone, Chouanier, Eustachio, a lot of balance. We don't have, again, a true 6. Like, it could also be, let's just say this is Piet. This could be Piet, Eustachio, Kone, but I don't know. I kind of like Eustachio being the deep player here. Spring the ball forward. You got engines in Chouanier, the technical ability of Kone. That's a good midfield three. And then when you make this, you have one of these two drop off. And funny enough, both of these players can play as a wingback. So it could be Liam, and both can play as a center forward. We've seen Hoylett play as a center forward before, and we've seen him play as a wingback. Same as Miller. Miller literally played as a second striker in the Gold Cup, and he also played as a wingback. So take your pick, but like hypothetically, one switches over to the right wingback. Hoylett plays under David, or Miller plays under David, and Hoylett plays at the right wingback. I think I would prefer David. I think I would prefer Miller to switch back. Just faster player. He's used to really right now playing as wingback. And I like Hoylett more as kind of that second striker. And all of a sudden that 4-3-3 can shift. So depending what they do on and off the ball, there is two distinct systems you can play with this starting 11. And I quite like it. And then Miller could also become Buchanan, for example. It could also be Richie Larea. But that's interesting. Oh, and Armin comes in clutch because I am missing the presser right now. I'll have to watch that later. But Armin says on the press call right now, Biello just confirmed he sees Davies as left back in order to maintain consistency with his club. Says the Canadian national team to evolve tactically and maximize consistency. All right, guys, round of applause to be able to put this together. Armin, thanks for getting that in. And that makes our entire experiment work. I like it. I like it. But you guys see what I mean? On and off the ball, this starting 11 can change. And just for modern football, let's just try to put it back to the 4-3-3. You have, again, Crépeau, excellent with his feet, excellent shot stopper, our guy. Johnston can play on the can make a back three, but I mean, He's one of the best his best position to me is just simply right back. And then you have Cornelius. I know it's two lefties, but it can still work to make a back three. And Cornelius, I just think is a good enough passer and he's comfortable enough on the ball that I'm not that worried. Then you got Miller as well. Davies in his actual position, a 3-man midfield, and I think they all complement each other pretty well. And then I would have probably Liam over on the left, Hoylett on the right, JD through the middle, and then, one tucks into a wing back, one goes striker. Pretty fluid right there, guys. Well done. Good job, team. That was a good little thing. I hope we see that. I hope we all nail it. But let's see what you guys are saying quickly before. Atakubi may be a starter, but he's still not fully fit, and he's coming off the bench for Vancouver. Yeah, I like the idea, but the fact that Armin just gave us exactly what I wanted to know. I just wanted confirmation. I know that Twitter kind of alluded to the fact that he's under the defenders category, but as long as Biello said it, then I think this is a very, very I think it's a very likely this could be the starting 11. I mean, there could be a way to get Kyle Larin in there, but I don't see it. I don't want to see him play a 4-4-2. I don't want to see him play a 2-striker system. If he wants to, evolve tactically, I don't think that's the way. JD plays as a striker, as a lone striker in a 4-2-3-1. Everyone here is playing their proper positions pretty much. Johnson plays as a right back. Cornelius, Miller, both center backs, both playing a back four. Cornelius can play in a back three, back four. Davies is playing at left back. Eustaquio is playing as a 6. Chouanier and Kone can play as 8s. David's playing as a lone striker. Miller's playing as a wing back, but I've interviewed him and he's straight up said, I like playing as a winger more. And then Hoylett, obviously, we know can play as a winger, wing back, second striker. So I think that's very likely what we see. More than likely, we will maybe see Osorio in the midfield instead of Chouanier, but a man can only hope. I'd be okay with Davies right wing, Atakubi left back, but I prefer Davies at left back. Well, it looks like you're going to get your wish, my guy. Look at the love for Armin. Made our entire experiment to work. Biello says Luke impressed with his showings versus Chelsea, and he now wants to see what he can do to compete with the national team environment. Says he can play at center back too. Music to my ears. Yeah, if any of you guys watched Luke during the preseason, he had 3 or 4 very impressive matches. His most impressive match to me wasn't the Chelsea one. I don't remember who they were playing. I think it was the game right before. I think it might have been against Brentford, but he looked so good on the ball, so comfortable. You can just tell he's very technically gifted for a young 17-year-old. And then he got to start against Chelsea, and he looked very good as well. Obviously, he's not quite up there to be able to start in the Premier League week in, week out, but this kid's a talent. I'm excited to see what he can do in the national team right now. I said I don't expect him to start, but I like that they see him as a center back because I think that's probably where we need him. And I think from what he's shown in this very small period of time we saw him in preseason, that he could be a straight up center back. But he's got flexibility. He could definitely be able to play in like an outside right center back as a right back. I'm assuming Waterman and McNaughton are out due to injury. McNaughton, I mean, I don't know if McNaughton would have been called up. I put a nice hot take out there that I think in a back four, I'd almost prefer him alongside Cornelius because, again, he's a righty than Miller. But, yeah, he's out injured right now. Waterman's not injured, I don't believe, but he just isn't in there. No Koleosho, no Aiden Morris. Yeah, no, they're not. I don't think Koleosho is going anywhere, man. I think Koleosho is going to represent Italy. And Aiden Morris, I don't even want to get into it. I was devastated. I thought he could have helped us a lot, but whatever. Yeah, no Ike Ugbo. Again, I know he scored 3 goals in the championship. I'm torn. I'm thinking maybe because Biello wants to play this potential 4-3-3 type formation, maybe he wants David as the lone striker. You have options as a backup striker with, I guess, Larin could be that obvious guy. And then he wants wide players, which is why maybe a Barim was called up instead of Ugbo. But I mean, despite Ugbo scoring 3 goals in the championship, he's not looked great. He's just he's a striker, hopefully there to take his opportunities when they come. He doesn't get on the ball a lot. And right now he's riding the pine. So like the stats are kind, to what the performances actually are for Ugbo, but I still think it's a little unfair that he's been kind of washed aside with the national team for a little bit. But no, Ugbo's not hurt. He's just, I don't know. He's just obviously not what Biello was looking for right now. But he's been pushed out. I want to say this is the third camp in a row now that he's not been included. But yeah, like Vincent said, he scored 3 early ones and hasn't done anything since. But even in those games for Cardiff, he still struggled. He didn't get a lot, like I said, he didn't get a lot of touches, but to me, it doesn't really matter. A striker's got to provide more than just scoring goals, but Ugbo definitely proved that he could score goals. He's a good finisher. We all know that. But it just, off the ball, he doesn't get a lot. He doesn't get a lot in the build-up, and I think maybe that's why Cardiff has kind of brushed him aside right now. And I think a good example of that is literally yesterday's match. He came off the bench in the 60th minute, so still a decent chunk of time left, and I believe he had 7 touches. So he drifts in and out of games, and it's been tough for him. I like the back four with Cornelius. Eustachio is our pitch general. I can't wait to see the growth of Kone in the last few months since the Nations League. I also like Miller up front. He's exciting. Liam Miller's a very direct player. You saw that in the goal. I mean, you've seen it in a few goals he scored over the years. He's got a good shot on him. He can definitely likes to cut in on his right and just take one from distance. And the goal he scored for Preston to kick off his Preston era was very direct, quick little movement, had a nice feet, and then a good finish. So, like I said, I've interviewed him. He told me he likes playing as a winger. So, here's an opportunity. Armin says, who's captaining this side? It's a great question, guys. Who do you think should be the next? That's our last question of the day before I got to go. Let me know who you think should be the captain for the national team. Let's just say for the 2026 World Cup, just so that, I mean, Armin, if you're asking me who's captaining this side, it's no doubt it's going to be Hoylett, just because he's on the pitch. I don't think there's any way around that. But if Hoylett wasn't on the pitch, then it's more interesting. You guys know my answer. I think Eustachio should be the captain for the national team come the 2026 World Cup. Maybe even for the Copa America. It just depends. But when you have guys like Hoylett in the squad, if he's on the pitch, he'll be a captain. If Borjan's on the pitch, he'll be a captain. And if Vittoria's on the pitch, he'll be a captain. So there's still 3 players in my eyes in the squad, even Piet and probably Azorio. Like, there are a few players who have worn the captain's armband that I could see them giving it to, even though I think when it comes down to it, Eustachio is the guy. He's the guy I think that is a leader. He plays in one of the most demanding positions, and I would like to see him be the captain when we host the World Cup come 2026. But Johnston is absolutely another great shout. No, not Josh. That guy's not good. But no, a lot of you guys, I think, agree with Eustachio. Davies is another interesting shout, But yeah, I don't know. Just in terms of guys who've worn the armband before, there is quite a few in this roster who could wear it. And if for example, if they give Borjan the start, there's no question he's gonna wear the armband. But I could see Hoylett wearing it if him and Vittoria aren't on the pitch. But that is our final question for the day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this stream. Very excited. Alex and I will do our day of stream after the Japan match. I believe it's at 6:30 in the morning on October 13th. So probably around 11 a.m. that day after the match, we will come here live and break down the game with all you guys. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you guys there. Hopefully you enjoyed this. There's a couple very exciting names on this roster that I'm hoping to get a little look at the Japan match. But more than anything, I'm just excited to see the national team play again. So we had a few months off now, so it's great to be back. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.